Hey everybody, John here, Hot Rods in the Woods, once again with the reading glasses on so we can't see the camera. Here to have a little conversation about steering columns and hooking steering up. So I'm going to put you on the pedestal and we're going to go a little farther. Working on the Model A steering column today for a little bit. What we have is, if you watch my previous video on how to make a bracket to hold a rack in place instead of bending ridiculous bolts, we made a bracket for the front of this fine girl to mount the rack in the front where it's supposed to be, or it can be behind the front cross member, but that's entirely up to you and your build. And now we're using the original linkage that they had for the rack to hook up to the steering column. We ran into a little problem there, which I will explain in depth here in a minute. So, when you're working with steering columns, there are all sorts of choices. Let me get you back in here. We'll get you down in here. And we'll crank you down to here. I'll get you straight on. As you can see, my wife is doing some upholstery for the headliner. We're doing some trick stuff for it too. But let's begin here with, these are two GM steering columns. I'm right out of the boneyard. They're both the same length. They're both, I'm going to say, late 80s, early 90s steering columns. They both have the dimmer switch on the side of it. They have the ignition switch underneath it. And also, this is a neutral switch. Pretty much has everything you need to put your car together. The one thing that both of these do have is cruise control. So if you don't have cruise, well, that's just wasted, but it doesn't matter. Depending on the column, they have a couple different mounts down here. Both of them, remember, on the firewall have a little bit of a slant. The column sits like this. So where the column is vertical, I'll flip it over, then this would sit straight up, bolt to the firewall. The problem that you may run into is that your steering column is too long or too short. Now, if you watch the one on my gasser, I cut the steering column and shortened it. And the reason I did is because I bought a column that was too long. So it didn't work out with where I placed my steering box and all. Once again, playing ahead. Now, basically what I did there was, let me flip you down a little bit, was I took right here, I removed this lower bushing, I cut the tube and the interior. You have to pull the column apart and shorten it up. We've got exactly the opposite problem this time. This is a 27-inch column. Stand by, I will get my tape measure. All right, so this column, we're measuring tube length here. It's 27 inches. Doesn't matter, trust me. This column is 30 and a half, as I believe is this one. This one is 29 and a quarter. So you're always going to want to watch what you get it out of if you're going the junkyard route. There's nothing wrong with these columns. They're a good tilt column. Unlike the older ones, they don't have as much problem with the tilt mechanisms getting wobbly and getting loose and falling apart. So here's what we have to do. Somehow we need to make this column work in place, because I'm not ordering another one. I have plenty of room to make this work in the car. This was bought for the pickup truck, which has a much shorter setup in the front. So what you can do is you can go to the junkyard and you can find a piece of this, what they call double D. That is the bottom of this steering column. And you can just cut a piece off. Now the problem with that is, in some instances, it's not square all the way through. So it'll just go up a little bit and then it's flared out just a round piece of pipe. Because really, you only need to grab this for an inch or two to make it plenty strong enough to steer the car. So you can find this in the junkyard too, or you can buy a piece. I think I bought this I think I bought 2 feet of it or something. I have another one. I'll grab it so that you can see. Not always can you find everything you need in the boneyard. Sometimes you do have to buy something. But if you're on a budget like I usually am, unless I'm working on somebody else's car, which I'm still on a budget, but this is, well, of course the label's gone. But this came from Amazon, and it's just a 2-foot long piece. It's nice wrapped up. Anyway, that's what this is. You don't need to see it. It looks exactly like this, only it's cleaner and longer. This one's been laying around for a while out of any packing, so I had to use a little bit of Comet, or well, what did I use? A Brillo pad and a hose just to clean off the surface rust. So, moving on. So then what you can do, now, this double D solid rod will slide up in here a long ways, and it may stick. It actually had a vacuum. So what you can do is take a piece of this, which I procured from the junkyard, slide this in here, see, it goes right through. Weld this to here. Then you can hook this to your original shaft with a bolt like it's supposed to be. Slide this up in here, leaving a lot of extra. And then you've just extended your shaft to match any of these or even longer. Now, if you look in a pickup truck or something, this is actually how they do it. They just have an extended shaft. So I basically, by doing this, just extended this longer than the column that was in it. Now, that's a good thing in this instance because the owner of the car is 6'1" or 6'2", so he needs the seats back a little farther. These are not telescoping columns, so you need that extra length. Now, I could weld this to here as well, so it would all be one solid shaft. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. The reason I do not is this allows me to adjust everything in place. I still have it welded here. This in a normal column slides in and out, and it just helps in mocking everything up and putting it together. So that's the way I'm doing this. I hope this helps you a bit. Now, if you're really trick and you can find one, you can go back and find steering columns from Cadillacs and I believe Lincoln Continentals that were actually telescoping columns. The problem I run into in this particular instance is if I do not have that 30-inch column, the distance, let me turn the light on, the distance between the dashboard and where it goes through the firewall, which is just a ugly hole if you can see it down there, is too long. Or is too short, I'm sorry. So, or whichever, I have to have that length to get the steering wheel out here. If I use it too short, the steering wheel is 5 inches from the dashboard, and that would put your legs and everything right up underneath there as well. So she's coming together. We should have her spitting fire here pretty quick. Today I should get the steering column mocked up, and then I'll continue on with wiring. All right, so adding into this just real quick, working on the Bootleggers Model A sedan delivery once again, and we've run into issues, as I said, about the length of the steering column. So here is the end result. As you can see, I've welded it in place and it slides in and out, so I have plenty of adjustment for the lengths of the column. Don't say anything. Ooh, oh. All right, so now I'll get rid of this too. Harbor Freight. You get them cheap, sometimes they work really well for helping you with the pattern. You can't beat these things. They sell them everywhere now. Tractor Supply's got them for under 20 bucks, I think. So here is our dilemma. Our dilemma is ugliness. Sorry about the sound. I just grabbed the camera itself, didn't put it on anything, didn't have my mics, but here's the issue. The issue is the guy that had this started cutting. You can see he used a sawzall, hacksaw, something, air saw, to cut a big old hole for the steering column because he couldn't figure out where it went. So I went ahead. I can't have that. You got to seal that up, right? I cut an old piece of cardboard out of an air filter box, taped it from the outside. I'll go over there and show you how much fun that was, because it is super tight. You see it down there? It's right against the back of the header. Anyway, taped it inside there, threw just a little bit of paint at it so that I had a rough idea on how big the hole was. Then I went and grabbed a piece of, I believe this is, I don't know, maybe 18 gauge. That's some old tin I had. Made a piece. Where is the piece? There it is, behind the light where you can't see it all. So I made this piece. Let's see if I sent you there. Can you see it? I guess you can. Oh Lord. There you go. I cut this piece out and it fits. Well, if it will, now of course it doesn't want to play well with others. Right in there like that. Now here's the other problem. Of course, it's going to look fine from under here. I put some Dynamat over it. Nobody will ever see it. The problem is, how do I attach it? Now I can spot weld it, which is probably what I'm going to end up doing. Spot weld it and seam seal it. Sadly, there's nothing I can do to make the front look good. Can I get you in there at all? Heck no. Short of just puttying it or something. It's so close to the header. The only way to really do it and do it right would be to cut the entire piece out with the engine out, put a new piece of sheet metal in there and grind it up. But this fits quite well. As I said, I do have to tweak it just a little bit, but I think I can push it in and spot weld it. I'm not going to weld it all the way around. I will just seam sealer it from the other side or goop it somehow once the car's back up in the lift. But by doing this, I fill that ridiculously big hole. Now what the next plan for this is, you'll love this. Always keep the stuff that you don't use. So now we have our piece of sheet metal, which, by the way, I did these bends with a plastic hammer, a dead blow. See how nice that piece is, it'll clean up. And the top head of my vise. This is a leftover piece of 3-inch exhaust pipe. I just Brillo padded real quick. But here's the piece de resistance. This is a CV joint boot. Fits the pipe perfect. But the real cool part is it fits on this shaft. Get that out of the way. It fits on here perfect. So it'll be a nice tight seal. Of course, it still will turn. I'll mount this to the pipe with a clamp. I will cut my hole in here and run it right up to the steering column with the new shaft. And it'll look like somebody maybe knew what they were doing when they put it together. Of course, I'll clean it all up, I'll paint it, and it'll look right. So there you have it. That's the newest mess that we have ourselves into. Hope you enjoy. Have a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye for now. All right, a little follow-up. As you can see, the column is in place and it lays right up against that. So we didn't even cut the hole so the shaft was straight in the first place. When we got this car, the steering wheel was just hanging, so we never noticed. Well, we just pulled it in here and tore it apart. But obviously, it's really close to that side, so in order to make it work correctly, it needs to be there. So I will have to notch it just a hair more in order to get the steering wheel and the column to sit like that, which gives you plenty of leg room. If the seat moves back 3 or 4 inches, we'll be fine. On the other car, the 1930, the seat starts about here. I sat on the Magic Milk Carton height checker, and it seems to be about right. So it'll have a little more leg room than the orange 1930, and you'll still be able to reach the steering wheel. So there you go. One more step closer.